And that'll do it for this 5 o'clock edition. Thanks for watching. I'm Diana Williams.
And I'm Sandra Bookman. Eyewitness News at 6 starts right now.
This is Eyewitness News, the news leader, with Bill Ritter and Liz Joe. Scott Clark with sports, and Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast. Now, Eyewitness News at 6.
An investigation into police corruption rocks one of the largest departments in our area. And in tonight's Extra, have we got a deal for you? There's only one hitch. You've got to stay in town for the Republican convention. And if you do, the bargains are there for the taking. Good evening, everyone, at 6 o'clock.
I'll have more on those stories in just a moment, but we begin tonight with breaking news. A tanker truck is on fire in Bedminster, New Jersey. John Del Giorno is over the scene in Newscopter 7. John?
Liz, this was a very scary accident that occurred here on Interstate 78 at about 5:30 this evening. What you're looking at is Interstate 78, which is shut down at this hour in both directions thanks to this tanker accident in Bedminster. We're on 78 just east of 287, where we've been over the scene here for about 15 minutes. We've been able to figure out that this tanker truck was headed westbound on 78, left over 200 feet of skid marks on the highway before crashing through the trees and into oncoming traffic in the eastbound lanes. A horrifying situation. This tanker truck collided with at least 2 other vehicles. The tanker truck, along with that Jeep Cherokee on the left, both of those caught fire, and the firefighters have been here on the scene ever since, trying to douse those flames. From this angle, it is impossible to tell whether or not the tanker itself caught fire. Obviously, the truck itself is on fire along with the other vehicle. Unclear right now whether that tank is on fire or is leaking. But again, a traffic advisory, Route 78 shut down in both directions just east of 287. We're in Bedminster, Somerset County, live over Interstate 78. John Del Giorno, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Oh, what a terrible accident. Thanks for that update. Well, now to allegations of police corruption. Tonight, a half-dozen Newark police officers are under investigation. Sources tell Eyewitness News it involves everything from making secret deals with drug dealers and prostitutes to selling confiscated guns. Marcus Solis is in Newark tonight with details. Marcus?
Liz, at least 6 police officers, perhaps as many as 8, facing indictment from a grand jury that will be impaneled this week in Trenton. As you said, they are accused, the officers are, of shaking down drug dealers, sometimes using violence to rip them off. And sources say the criminal activity could have lasted for as long as 2 years.
No comment.
No comment today from officers at the West District Station House, a precinct under a cloud of corruption. Within days, a grand jury will be presented with evidence that could result in indictments against a half-dozen Newark cops, officers who allegedly stole guns and drugs from suspects and sometimes resold the illegal items. It's the type of conduct that will not be tolerated, says Newark's police director.
Kids know right from wrong. These are grown adults, men and women. Just look at your oath of office when you think you're forgetting what your job description is.
The department's Internal Affairs Unit launched the investigation 4 months ago. The state's Attorney General's office has now taken over. Several cops have been questioned in Trenton. The police union has filed 2 complaints claiming officers not under investigation are being forced to cooperate.
Someone may try to manufacture something against someone else in an effort to help themselves not be arrested or lose their job, and it's certainly a concern of ours.
Newark's police director says there may be departmental changes as a result of the investigation, but he says corruption in any department is inevitable. He adds the 1,900-member department has cut crime 58% over the last 7 years.
A few bad apples shouldn't spoil the whole group. The vast majority of the officers that come to work each and every day in this city do a hell of a job.
Again, that grand jury expected to start hearing testimony within the week. It is unclear how long that grand jury presentation will last. And we're live in Newark. Marcus Solis, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Marcus, thank you. A federal judge now expected to rule tomorrow on whether 250,000 protesters will be allowed to demonstrate in Central Park on Sunday. But tonight, police officials acknowledging what Mayor Bloomberg said yesterday. If demonstrators do just show up in the park, there is very little cops can do about it. N.J. Burkett with the story. He's in Lower Manhattan for us tonight. Newt?
And that's right, Bill. Tonight, protest organizers are ruling nothing out. As you said, thousands of demonstrators might actually converge on Central Park on Sunday, even if the judge here rules against them. That kind of civil disobedience would be practically impossible to prevent.
Stand up, fight back!
As demonstrators rallied this morning, their voices echoed through the third-floor courtroom.
So the city has offered one location for the rally for this event and one location only. The only place they have ever offered is the West Side Highway.
Lawyers for the organizers accused the city of trampling their civil rights. And lawyers for the city said 250,000 demonstrators would trample Central Park.
The only real option is either go to West Street or not have a rally at all.
Justice Jacqueline Silberman is expected to rule tomorrow morning, but it might not matter.
It's our park, not their park.
Why don't they do it in a botanical garden? Stamp on all the orchids.
Former Parks Commissioner Henry Stern oversaw the $18 million restoration of the Great Lawn. Tonight, he's urging demonstrators to have their rally somewhere else.
Otherwise, you can kiss the grass goodbye.
The ruling is expected here sometime tomorrow morning. If it goes against the city, they are entitled under law to an automatic stay pending their appeal. Regardless, this legal battle seems destined to go right down to the wire. Live tonight, Lower Manhattan, and Jay Burke at Channel 7. Eyewitness News.
NJ, thank you. And the NYPD says it is ready for almost any scenario involving protesters. But if a situation does get out of hand, police sources tell the Eyewitness News investigators they have developed a creative strategy to identify the troublemakers. Sarah Wallace joins us now with exclusive details. Sarah.
Well, Liz and Bill, the NYPD brass is not talking, but sources tell us that certain officers in various task forces have been trained in a paintball-type technique to mark the bad guys. In a hectic crowd situation, the cops want to make sure they're locking up the right people.
Ready?
Paintball, it may seem like fun and games, but not to the NYPD. Sources say that in a confrontation gone bad, that technique may be enlisted by cops to identify violent offenders. Protesters could be marked for arrest even if they tried to run away. Cops ran through a drill with mock protesters for reporters just last week, but the paintball technique was not part of the public display. Besides paintball dye, sources tell us the plan is for cops to be photographed with the people they arrest, with the charge printed on the photo and the officer's name written on the flex cuffs. Members of task force teams tell us they've been told to expect as many as 1,000 arrests a day, which will be processed at a pier on the West Side Highway.
While the pier may be packed with protesters, what you won't find here in Midtown next week is parolees, thanks to a directive from the State Division of Parole.
The order, which we obtained, says staff must instruct parolees to remain out of the red zone. That's defined as 26th to 35th Streets and 6th to 9th Avenues. The normal bustling 31st Street office is on a major thoroughfare that leads to the Garden. But the memo goes further. It says there will be no office reports taken at any New York City location during that week. Parole officers are instructed to be in the field making positive visits. Parolees can't help but think.
I get the impression that they don't want us down here probably because, you know what I'm saying, they think we're going to cause problems during the convention. All that, you know what I'm saying, we'll probably be a threat to the people that's coming out here from other places.
I think it's because they just don't want us out here. You know, they don't want no so-called bad guys out here.
A parole spokesman claims that is not the case, that the directive was issued because of logistics and traffic. Back to the NYPD, some officers, including undercover cops, are telling us as of this Thursday, they'll be going to 12-hour tours with no days off until after the convention. Bill, Liz?
Hit with a paintball. Imagine.
Well, imagine that.
Yeah, thank you,
Kinda
Sarah.
hurts.
We have one more item about the Republican convention. More than 1 out of 4 people, 1 out of 4 who work in Manhattan, say they do not plan to go into work during the convention. An Eyewitness News poll shows that 68% of the people we surveyed will go to work next week, but another 11% say they will work from home, and 16% say they plan to take time off during the convention. 3% say their company is actually closing during the convention week. The poll by Survey USA has a margin of error of plus or minus 5.2%.
Well, now to the candidates, and Senator John Kerry, he made a campaign stop in Manhattan today and accused the president of using smear tactics to keep from talking about the issues that really matter. Using historic Cooper Union as a backdrop, Kerry lashed out at President Bush, claiming the president has yet to spell out a plan to move the country ahead if he were reelected.
The Bush campaign and its allies have turned to the tactics of fear and smear because they can't talk about jobs, health care, energy independence, and rebuilding our alliances.
President Bush, meanwhile, remains at his ranch in Texas until Thursday. That is when he'll begin a swing through 8 key states, ending up in New York City to accept his party's nomination on September 2nd. And stay with Channel 7 for continuing coverage of the Republican National Convention this Friday night at 7 o'clock. We hope you join us live from Times Square for an Eyewitness News guide to the Republican National Convention. We will look at everything from politics to navigating the city.
Soup to nuts. You need
Soup to
That's
nuts.
what it is.
Oh, yes.
As we continue on this Tuesday night, call it fuel for fire. And wait till you see what firefighters discovered inside an apartment after flames forced residents out.
And in tonight's Extra, have we got a deal for you? For New Yorkers staying home during the Republican convention, deals and perks that are normally impossible to find.
Plus, John Del Giorno will have the latest update on that tanker accident causing huge traffic problems tonight in New Jersey.
Tomorrow on Eyewitness News this morning, it's an archaeological wonder, but now the Archdiocese is tearing down a Catholic church that's been part of Harlem for decades.
That story plus a whole lot more. Watch Eyewitness News this morning, tomorrow morning, beginning at 5 a.m.
Coming up on World News Tonight, the top Pentagon brass has been criticized for failing to stop the prisoner abuse in Iraq. That's in a new report today. And we'll have the anatomy of a heist, how the thieves got away with priceless art in Norway, covered their tracks.
Our first ever Celebrity Spouse Challenge. A soprano star goes head-to-head with her husband. Clint Black goes where he's never gone before. Famous couples face off. Tomorrow's Oprah.
An all-new Oprah tomorrow at 4.
You're watching Eyewitness News, the news watched by more people in the tri-state area.
You are looking at live pictures right now from Bedminster, New Jersey, where there has been a terrible accident involving a tanker truck. John Del Giorno is in Newscopter 7 above the scene. John, what's the latest?
Liz, again, we'll update you on a story we brought you first here on Eyewitness News. Route 78 currently shut down in both directions in Bedminster, New Jersey after a horrible accident involving a tanker truck. This truck was traveling westbound on Route 78 in Bedminster and crashed through the trees before crashing into oncoming traffic. We have no word on injuries yet, but Route 78 remains shut down both directions between exit 33 and exit 29, closed until further notice. Live over Somerset County, John Del Giorno on Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
All right, stay on the scene and keep us posted. Thank you, John. We also have breaking news out of Russia at this hour. 2 planes have crashed at the same time. Reports say the 2 airliners went down almost simultaneously. One plane crashing about 100 miles south of Moscow, the other about 600 miles south of the city. A total of 100 people were on both of those planes. Not clear what caused the crashes. We'll continue, of course, to follow this story. And locally, a woman from Upper Manhattan in serious condition tonight after a fire in her apartment and a dramatic rescue by firefighters. Now, the woman's apartment in the Fort George section was filled with old newspapers, cardboard boxes, and trash, all of them highly flammable. Here's Anthony Johnson.
The victim's 6th-floor apartment contained stacks and stacks of flammable materials, newspapers, cardboard boxes, and magazines. Everything that could feed a fire and cause it to rage out of control. The woman who lived here somehow made it to her terrace, began screaming for help and preparing to jump.
There was 2 or 3 guys there telling not to jump, but she really wanted to jump, and the flame was in her bag.
Firefighters quickly got into action. One group raced to control the blaze while the other used Engine 45's bucket truck to rescue the victim.
She was in a bad spot. Fire all behind her. She's been burnt from her ankles to the back of her head, the whole backside.
The woman was described as being heavy-set and could not be carried down on a ladder. Meanwhile, residents were forced from their apartments into the streets, wearing their night clothes and pajamas and grabbing a few other important items. Fortunately, everyone got out alive, including this 9-month-old girl.
I took my baby and just woke out.
The only real fear for the residents was the fire would grow.
A lot of flames coming out, from the window on top by the roof, started spreading, so I got a little concerned, and we started evacuating the building.
The victim was rushed to the burn unit at Cornell Medical Center with injuries to 30 to 40% of her body. In the Fort George section of Manhattan, Anthony Johnson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Well, just ahead, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. And a little bit of good news for those stuck in New York City next week.
Bargains that you're going to find in the city, but only if you stay in town for the convention. It's tonight's Extra, and it's next.
And the skies could have been a little brighter, but our dry week countdown continues. Your forecast is on its way.
Some kids really do have all the answers, and they're on Jeopardy all this week. Don't miss Kids Week from Washington, D.C.
Tonight at 7 on ABC 7.
Hello, New York. I'm coming home for my new daytime talk show. Don't miss the Tony Danza Show live in New York starting September 13th, right here on ABC 7.
Contrary to popular belief, if you are planning to stay in New York City during the Republican convention, you may actually be one of the lucky ones. Starting Monday, hundreds of discounts are being offered from high-end stores to restaurants and even Broadway shows. With tonight's Extra, here's Sandra Bookman.
New York, the wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery down.
Ever since Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly sang those immortal words in a 1940s musical, countless millions have visited and hummed along in agreement. But now it seems it's New Yorkers themselves who need to be convinced. In fact, when Republicans hit town next week, many city dwellers are hitting the road, hoping to avoid the hassle.
We just don't feel comfortable staying in the city for the week of the convention.
But city officials are urging the hometown crowd to stick around, promising there'll be plenty here for you too. First up, NYC summer breaks and its hundreds of citywide discounts, many the same offered under the Come Early, Stay Late promotion for convention delegates, as well as those peaceful political activist buttons for protesters. Don't forget the cheap eats at dozens of restaurants, a $20.12 lunch in honor of the city's Olympic bid, $30.12 at dinner.
Don't back off. Come to New York City. It's open for business. It's going to be fun. It's going to be safe. And it's going to be really the chance of a lifetime.
And what may be the most enticing deal of all, cheap seats to more than a dozen Broadway shows.
You buy one ticket for a show from next Monday, August 30th, through Thursday, September 2nd. You buy one ticket full price, the second ticket is $20.04.
Still, is it enough to convince the average New Yorker to stay around during the convention?
It'll bring me downtown because a lot of times a college student can't afford to eat at some of the restaurants.
It'll work for a few, but most people who are staying to complain.
Now, you could call and spin, but you can find out how to take advantage of those discount offers by visiting or logging onto our website, rather at 7online.com.
Complain and then go to a Broadway play.
Yeah, after you eat dinner.
That's not bad at all.
So you could buy a ticket and then I'll pay $20.04.
Definitely, and then you could work for both of us.
That's it. It ain't gonna happen. Thanks, Sandra.
Thanks, Sandra. Well, it was quite a nice afternoon.
Yeah, nice. There were moments where the clouds just didn't seem to want to get out of the way, but, you know, we'll see if we can improve on that over the next couple of days. Walk over the wall will show you exactly what we've got. Outside our doors, dry skies, and now they've really kind of opened up nicely. Our sky shot will show you that there's just partly cloudy skies out there. We're in many communities for a while this afternoon. It had gone to mostly cloudy. We're still 74 in Syracuse, 71 in Albany. Look at where the cold line is right through the middle of the region. We're 75 at LaGuardia, but 83 in Philly and 85, 86 points south of that. So the front line, yeah, right about there. So now with that cleared and we're in the cooler air overnight tonight, it's fairly comfortable. There will be one or two clouds. We'll call it partly cloudy, looking at about 73 degrees. Now, on the forecast, we're going to go clear. A lot of communities will, particularly northern and coastal communities. I think southern areas and kind of inland areas will keep some clouds around for the next couple of hours. Winds are calm this hour, 79 degrees, the top number on the day, 71 where we started earlier in the morning. We're 56, 61 straight down the Hudson Valley, 66 degrees in the 5 boroughs, 62 in Newark. It's also the east end number at 62 degrees. And again, because we've got mostly clear skies in a good part of the area, we kind of pick that as the direction everyone's going. But one or two clouds will hold in southern inland areas as that front really is kind of working its way further south, and it'll take a little time to get the clouds out of the way there. 78 degrees for the high temperature in the 5 boroughs tomorrow, 79 in White Plains, 81 in Newark. Sound familiar? It's a lot like it was today. Hopefully there'll just be a bit more straight hours of sunshine in the day tomorrow than there were today. Watching all the clouds hold back off to the west, doesn't look like there's going to to be a lot of movement for us in our direction. That front is the big player, and plus this area of high pressure is as well. So it should work in our favor, and this high sets up for a while and really starts to erode the back end of this front out, so we might not ever really have to deal with the mess for a while anyway that's back there. I think we're going to keep thunderstorms out of the forecast until some pop-up thunder showers Saturday and Sunday, but even Saturday and Sunday appear to be nice-looking days. Your UV forecast for the day tomorrow is a 6, and your forecast looks like this. Mostly clear with some inland clouds at 66 degrees. Your numbers tomorrow come back up into the 70s, 78 degrees. It's a cool breeze out there, and it's coming from an easterly direction, so that'll help keep the temperatures down a bit. Mostly clear and comfortable, 64 degrees, and on the 5-day plan, you've got probably a break from the humidity for another day or so. Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, you'll notice it coming back into the picture for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but even those days are nice, 82, 84, and 84.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Scott has sports when we come back.
Stay tuned to ABC 7 starting at 8 with Extreme Makeover Home Edition. And according to Jim, Less Than Perfect in the Jury Room. And 11, Eyewitness News. All right here on ABC 7. Tonight's preview is sponsored by Lexus.
We want to update you on some breaking news. A horrible tanker accident in Bedminster, New Jersey. It is causing major traffic problems. John Del Giorno is over the scene in Newscopter 7. John.
Liz, those are the two stories we're talking about here. The first is this horrible accident in which a tanker truck is traveling westbound on Interstate 78, crashes through the divider and into oncoming traffic. That truck, along with another vehicle, caught fire, although it appears at this time that the tank itself did not catch fire or explode. We don't know yet what was in that tanker, but state police are telling us that at this time, they have no injuries to report. Of course, that could change. The other angle to this story, of course, is the traffic. Route 78 shut down both directions now for almost an hour. The shutdown is between exit 33 on the westbound side and exit 29 on the eastbound side. You can see here state police turning cars around and sending them the other way. Live over Interstate 78, John Del Giorno, Channel 7. Eyewitness News.
What a scene, John. Thank you. All right, we put the clutch in, shift gears, and turn it over to Scott with sports.
We have an ironic tale at the Gents camp. Last year, Vinny Testaverde was a New York Jet backup quarterback. Quincy Carter was the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback. Today, Testaverde is the starter in Big D. Carter is the Jets' backup QB, and he didn't waste time getting to the practice field today after signing a one-year deal with Gang Green. Quincy Carter started at quarterback in all 31 games he played for Dallas over the past 2 seasons, and he was the starter in training camp until 3 weeks ago. When the Cowboys dropped him like a hot potato, they released him and said no more than that they had their reasons. Various reports stated that Carter failed a drug test. The NFL Players Association has since filed a request for arbitration in the matter.
I was very surprised, but, you know, in this game we learned that, you know, surprises, you know, there are a lot of them. So I definitely got to, you know, move on from here. You know, I'm looking forward to being a Jet.
To have a guy like this on the football team is a plus for us. Like you said, he's here to help us to try to win games. Anything we ask him to do, he's willing to do that. It takes a heck of a person to be able to do that. That says a lot about the man.
All right. The United States continues to lead the medal count at the Olympics, 70-51 over China overall, including 25 gold medals. One came today in beach volleyball when Misty May and Kerry Walsh beat the Brazilian team for top honors. Holly McKeek and Elaine Youngs took the bronze. Joanna Hayes gave the United States gold in the women's 100-meter hurdles. Her compatriot Melissa Morrison took bronze. American Brian Clay took a silver medal in the men's decathlon. And finally, the Iraqi soccer team's Cinderella run for a gold medal is over after losing 3-1 to Paraguay. Iraq could still win a bronze by beating Italy Friday night. And Paul Hamm is heading home with the controversial gold medal he won on a technicality in the men's overall gymnastics. He had more problems yesterday. Fans booed loudly as he prepared for the high bar. They were protesting the scores given to Russian Alexei Nemov just moments before. Now, Nemov pleaded for calm, and then Hamm went out and won a silver medal in the high bar in a most memorable Olympics for him. Finally, Andy Roddick. Andy Roddick has come back home following a disappointing loss at the Olympics to get set to defend his title at the U.S. Open next week. Marvell Scott was with him today.
Andy Roddick arrived to New York a week early to showcase his new Reebok sports apparel line and prepare to defend his U.S. Open title.
To come here to New York City and play in the biggest venue, the biggest tennis venue in the world, it's always exciting.
It's his dominance on the court that has earned Andy Roddick the title as the American player to beat. But it's his growing popularity off the court as a celebrity that is really making him larger than life. Today's scene in Midtown is common. Fans pile in just to catch a glimpse of Roddick's rock star looks. The 21-year-old phenom, who was voted as one of People magazine's sexiest athletes, just takes it all in stride.
That's a trip for me, It's just something that my friends can give me shtick about.
Roddick is regarded as American tennis's top headliner, an honor passed down to him from icons Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi.
They've taken a lot of the attention away from me and kind of allowed me to develop, somewhat under the radar.
In Manhattan, Marvell Scott, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Beautiful hair day today. I'm Scott Clark. That's it for sports. Folks.
Some people like that.
Yeah. Some people do.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks, Scotty.
That's it for us for now. Thanks for watching. I'm Bill Ritter.
And I'm Liz Cho. World News Tonight with Peter Jennings is coming up next. We'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock. Enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye.